Hey, hey. Thanks for joining me. Are you going to mime this whole thing? Uh-huh. Is that Ralph Lauren? Okay. Styling and profiling.
Absolutely. Love and loyalty.
I'd expect nothing less. This is Laura, aka the Sound Sommelier, talking with DJ Applejac. Happy 47th birthday to hip hop. What's your earliest memory of hip hop?
Man, my earliest memory is probably everybody that didn't live in New York. Earliest memory. It's gotta be Rappers Delight, 79.
That is probably the most common answer I get.
Yeah, but I do remember as a kid, like me and my cousins used to be like, we'd be at like my grandmother's house, trying to rap the words of Rappers Delight. And then my grandmother one time, her and my great aunt, they were their sister. And they was like, y'all ain't doing nothing new. When we was growing up, that was called clowning.
Okay.
Which, you know, it was sort of like that, but I remember them doing I remember them reciting the words of Louis Jordan Saturday Night Fish Fry.
Nice.
So that was kind of I was like, okay, so I mean, I guess it ain't really nothing new, but absolutely, I mean, with in this particular context, it would definitely have to be Rappers Delight. But
I've also had New Yorkers give me that answer, so. Were you ever into graffiti or break-in before you became a DJ?
I mean, I could draw a little bit, you know, but I could draw it, but like spray paint, I wasn't that good at that. So, and then with breaking, like Mr. Wade was my favorite from New York City Breakers, because and then I was tall and lanky, had long legs, so it looked right. But then I guess I still didn't have like the coordination, because by that time I was like 11 and goofy.
So it just didn't work. Into your height.
Yeah, by that time, basketball and DJing, or my contribution to the culture was actually DJing and rapping.
Nice.
You know? Yeah.
What were some of your favorite records when you were younger that you remember?
Like little?
Sure, in your house or when you were in high school. Any of those.
Let me see. Growing up, I mean, definitely anything by James Brown, because my mother loved James Brown, so that's what my love of James Brown comes from. But then, like, there's a Sesame Street record called "Has Anybody Seen My Dog?" I used to like that record a lot.
Nice.
There was this other record by this group called Electric Express called "A Real Thing" that I used to really like. But the funny part about that record was, so there was an instrumental side, and then there was a vocal side. The instrumental side, I would always play on 45.
Okay.
But the vocal side, I always played on 33. I don't know why I like to hear it like slowed down like that, but I would never play the vocal side on 45. I always played it slowed down.
Was it a female vocal or a male vocal?
No, it was a male vocal.
Okay.
And then, like, when I was young too, my uncle stayed with us for a while when he went to school. So in my house, as a kid, I could hear anything from Donny Hathaway to the Temptations then my uncle was into like Herb Hancock, Chick Corea, Al Jarreau, Walter Hawkins, Andre Crouch, Shirley Caesar. My father sang in like gospel quartets, so a lot of that stuff. Mighty Clouds of Joy, Dixie Hummingbird, Swan Silvertone. So in my what up, Bus? My man Cynthia Lauper, Bus Crates, what up? So it was a lot of music, and then when I would come to my grandmother's house, my other uncle used to live here, or live there, right? And so I would ride around with him in his Thunderbird, and that was Buddy Miles,
Nice.
Jethro Tull, Santana, Ohio Players, Funkadelic, Jimi Hendrix, Gap Band later on. Like, so it was, you know, I would say it's a well-rounded.
I was just going to say well-rounded.
So I had a lot of favorites, you know what I mean? But definitely James Brown records were probably the prevailing sort of records I like to play most of the time.
When did your love for hip-hop music inspire your decision to pursue a career in DJing?
Oh, that's easy. One person, and one person only. Rest the dead, Jam Master Jay.
Nice.
I caught one of the worst beatdowns I ever had behind Jam Master Jay. My cousin had the record, the 12-inch, and I was like, "Yo, what is that?" Like, yo, it's Run DMC. I mean, I knew who Run DMC was, but I had never heard Jam Master Jay because I think at the time, Hard Times was like the big jam at the time. So I had never heard Jam Master Jay, but I knew he was their DJ.
Right.
So I heard this record. And I'm like, yo, let me borrow. Like, I'm gonna see you, because we all played Little League together. So I was like, I'm gonna see you at the park. He's like, yo, do not scratch this record. I promise you, this record is scratched. We fighting on site. And I couldn't help it. Like, I had to do it. I had to do it. Like, I couldn't help it. Took the record back to him at the park. Yeah, I took the L from my cousin, though. Like, so I think it could have been a lot worse if it was somebody.
Family.
Yeah, he pulled. I think he pulled up a little bit, but yeah. I mean, and then from there, seeing them at the Fresh Fest and seeing like him really getting busy, I was like, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. So Jam Master Jay definitely is the sole and primary inspiration.
Very nice. How did you come to join the Universal Zulu Nation Atlanta chapter in 1990?
Well, I mean, you know, growing up, we knew about Zulu Nation. Peace to Zulus all over the world. You know, that was really kind of our only reference point for hip hop, sort of. You know, Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force. We knew, like, and then on top of that, a lot of people may not know this, but Shy D is Bambaata's cousin.
I don't remember when I learned that.
When Shy D moved to Atlanta, like, we really felt like he was the liaison between us and him. Or so, you know, people used to ask like, yo, what is Bambaataa? Like, what's Zulu? So all of that stuff, you know, you grow up and it's like almost folklore. It's like mythical. Like, you know it exists, but like, you know, New York was light years away for us here in Decatur. So, you know, and then once my man Soul Messiah got down on Rocksteady, when he got done with doing all of that, he decided to start a chapter here in Atlanta. And so I joined the chapter first, the Atlantis chapter. Shout out to Soul Messiah, King Asim, my man Daoud, my sister Saula. So, you know, and I would go to all the parties. So usually, a lot of the time, there would be Zulu Nation DJs and Nation Time Syndicate DJs. That was another crew. But then I noticed, like, Soul Messiah was pretty much playing, like, the whole night. And I was like, well, you don't need to play. I could rock. But I ain't know him like that. You know what I'm saying? So my big sister Saoda was cooler with him because, like, they all kind of really started the chapter together. So I was like, yo, Saoda, can you introduce me to him and, like, see if I can audition for him or whatever? So 92, Freaknik, he was like, yo, bring a couple of crates. That's all I need to hear.
Nice.
And so I played that first night with Nation Time Syndicate. It was Zoo Nation DJs and Nation Time Syndicate DJs at this place called, what was it called, the Rooftop or the Loft? One of the two, in the West End over by the train station. And I'll never forget, and I'm mentioning these names like people know them, but like these are part of the history of it. My man Jazz, who owned Earwax Records, I'll never forget, because I knew he was, like, you know what I mean? So I remember I played my set, and he was like, yo, I never met you, I don't know who you are, but you're pretty good. So when Jazz said that to me, like, I had to glow for like a good week. You know what I mean? And from there, like, I became a Zulu Nation DJ in '92, and we was doing it like that.
Nice. Do you remember any of the records you played that night?
I remember, like, I remember I was like somewhere in like the hype part of the set. Like I played like a segue from Brazilian Round, Earth, Wind and Fire. Then I went into Not Just Knee Deep.
Nice.
That was, but I had practiced that shit, so I was like, yo, when I hit him with this shit, it'll be crazy. and it went off. It came off how I hoped it would. So that was like probably, from there, then I could kind of relax. I was so uptight. I was like, I cannot fuck up. Like, I want to be a Zulu Nation. But yeah, that was outside. And then I remember one time when Bambaataa was in town, and they had a party, and I brought out all the breaks, and Bam said, like, he said I was funky, and that's pretty lofty praise, because funk to him is like a big word. So I was like, you say I'm funky, then that means I'm funky. So that was really it. Yeah.
Did you have any mentors or friends who helped you make a name for yourself when you first started?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, Soul Messiah, put me down with Zulu Nation. 92. Then as We Three Kings Entertainment, my man Brian Calhoun, who's doing a lot of big things like on the industry side now. I think I played on the radio for the first time. Me and JC played. Me and my man DJ JC played down at University of Georgia where they were going, and we would play a lot of their parties. And then when they start throwing parties in Atlanta, me and him were residents at the Phoenix at the time. It wasn't a warehouse yet. We were still talking 92. I wasn't even old enough to get in, but I was able to do that. Then, of course, well, actually before that, let me go back a little bit. 83, 84, 85, I had a neighbor named Dwayne, I'm sorry, that lived a few doors up from my house. And because I didn't have like actual turntable, but I would just practice scratching on my little record player at home.
Nice.
And so he would let me come over to his house because he had equipment. He's much older than I was. And he would let me come over there and practice, and then like he'd show me a few things. So I'm like 11 or 12 at the time. So I'm still just trying to mimic the stuff that I hear on record. Where I really cut my teeth, though, was probably around 14, 15 when we moved from Cavalier Gardens and we moved to Stratton Hills, in another part of town, still on the east side, right? Then that's my man Brian, my man LeGarrette, my man Osman, we call them Oz. And they all three were responsible kind of for showing me various aspects of DJing. That's when they used to bring out the DMC videos. That's when they had Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money tape. So so Brian kind of was the one that taught me really the more advanced scratches. You know what I mean? Which at the time was stuff like the bird cut, the drag, stabs. They call them stabs now. And then like LeGarrette, I used to watch him because he used to do a lot of tricks, body tricks and stuff. So I would learn, like, try to do little things that he would do. Osman definitely was the guy who was like, yo, how to blend, you know what I'm saying? And like make his stuff transition real smooth. So those three guys, probably during my teenage years, were responsible for that. I'll have to say, absolutely, unequivocally, even though he's like one of my best friends on earth, DJ JC is an unspoken, probably you don't even know, huge mentor. You know what I'm saying? Like just because of his work ethic and his attention to detail within DJ work, right? I mean, Rob Swift. Then moving on, like of course jazz again from Earwax. Then as I started transitioning into kind of starting to play house music, DJ Spinner, Kerry Chandler, DJ Kemet, Kai Alcé, Cullen Cole, DJ Just One, Dennis Ferrer, who kind of helped me cut my teeth in that world. Both as a DJ and when I started to expand into house music production or dance music production. So I mean, I'm like that turtle that's at the top of the telephone pole. I didn't get up there by myself.
That's okay. How did you come to be known as Applejac?
Applejac, I mean, and everybody asks me this question, and it's really not even an exciting story.
I couldn't find the answer.
I'll tell it. You know what I mean? So I wish my man Debo Sounds was in here, my man Dante, because he could kind of attest to what we're talking about here. So when we were in high school, maybe like 11th grade, me and him was hanging really, really tough. 11th grade, definitely 12th grade. But like maybe the end of 11th grade through the summer, and then all of 12th grade. So, when we realized that we were kind of cut from the same cloth, and so we used to make up like this weird slang, right? Like how, pimps and stuff used to talk like, and they used to say Jack all the time. So then we developed so that part got old. So to keep it interesting and fresh, then we developed something that we call Jack Understood. So you don't say the word, but it's implied in the way that whatever you're saying. Right. So a conversation at the locker or at school in the morning might go something like, or like if he called me on the phone or something, he might say, "What's going down, old lantern?" And I might be like, "All right, of all trades," So I remember because so the name before I had that, the name Applejac was, I had his name IB Swift. And this is when everybody was sort of dealing with 5% and they had an attribute. And it was always like a moniker, like King Asiatic, nobody's equal, right? So mine was IB Swift. It was the intelligent brother slicing wax. He's fully talented.
Nice.
But I was like, it really didn't fit. You know what I mean? And I was like, it doesn't really say me. Right. And so I remember one day I called Dante on the phone. And he was like, "What's going down, Apple?" I was like, Applejac. That's it. So it really references like the Donny Hathaway, like the hat. It references that more than it does the cereal or the fruit. Right. So it's like, it's like more of a 70s kind of character. So,
I like it.
So that's how that happened. Totally wasn't.
No, I mean, I couldn't find that answer, so thank you for sharing. When did the Unknown Soldiers come together?
That was probably 94 or 95. So, and by this time, me and JC were kind of the gruesome twosome. Like we ran everywhere together. You know what I mean? And then, so speaking of Nation Time Syndicate, then you had DJ Dose rest are dead. And people in Virginia, they call him Big Dose because he did radio later on. Him and M3, they were older than we were. And they used to run together a lot. And I don't know, like one day we was all like at the radio at 88.5. Shout out to Randall Moore, Talib Shabazz, the whole Weekend Wrecking Crew. As it comes to me, I just gotta say it. And like
whatever you got.
Randall and Talib, and I tell people this all the time, and I'll shout it from the top of Mount Everest, like they were outstretching Barbita.
Okay.
Period. Like, and we here, in Atlanta, we revered them as such. But yeah, I think like one day we were just sitting around like man, these DJs whack, they this, they that. We decided because we all knew each other, but like we ain't really know each other. But now we had this like common enemy, and so we just decided to just posse up real quick and start rocking. We made our first tape. So it was 95. We made our first tape, Freaknik, of 95. It was so since it was four of us, it was a double cassette. Each person had their own side.
Okay.
So you had to get it in. And that was, but we would, we played a few parties together. We did the radio together, absolutely. And sort of that's, it kind of burned out as fast as it started. But I mean, we all remain friends to this day, and like I said, man, I miss Dose, man. I wish he was still here, man. Bless him dead.
The WRAS college radio station provided several opportunities for you to showcase your talent, including the sample clearance spots. Can you speak to what went into the planning for each of those segments?
Well, I think what started out as, because I would be by this time, because JC brought me in, because I didn't know Randall in them at the time. Randall gave me a shot to play records, and I got busy. And by this time, I had kind of gotten known to be having like a lot of the original samples and stuff. So probably sample clearance just came about because we always had giveaways at the station. And so it was really more about trivia. You know what I'm saying? And so they needed somebody that always had like dope records. And like, especially if it was like a fairly recent record, because we always like tried to keep it kind of up to date. So, if it was, I don't know, whatever a record was, and I had to sample to it. And, and it was a way for us to, but it was also a way to kind of expose the listeners to that world of crate digging. Like, okay, these records, these songs have,
history.
Yeah. And so, I didn't make it easy. So you really, eventually you had to know your stuff. And this has come from an era where you actually had to own the records. You couldn't just grab an MP3 or whatever. Like, so that was another, I guess, level of props, I guess I got. And then from there, I was able to get a lot of my remixes played on the station along with my man, DJ Exec, and G Wiz. I think Spearhead X did a few of like songs that were out, but we did our own versions and they would actually play them on the air. So that was a great way. Because, MCs could always be on, they come freestyle on the air and do all kinds of
whatever
stuff.
they want.
Yeah, but, for producers, especially locally, to be able to get that kind of audience, 100,000 watts, and pretty much every ear in the city on Sunday night or Saturday night, or Sunday night mainly. But still, like, what I'm saying? That you never know what that kind of stuff could lead to. And it actually led to a couple of little loose things that, got a little traction, like on labels and stuff. But, yeah.
When did you start developing your production skills?
That probably started early. I was maybe 12,
Oh, okay.
11, 12. But doing like, having the records and doing the pause tapes,
Mhm.
right? Just, sharpening my ear for what I want, like I would want to use for people to rap over. The first time I made a record in the studio, I was 15. With my man Craig Nasty. At the time, we changed our name later, but at the time we were known as the Full Speed Posse. We were still in high school.
Okay.
Songs called Lyrics at Its Finest. And sadly, I'll never be able to play the song for anybody because the studio got raided before we could finish.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, who knows? I mean, them tapes long gone, of course. Then from there, well, that's 88. I probably didn't get my own equipment till much later. Like, yeah, I was probably, that's 15. I was maybe like 21. Then I finally got my first real sampler I had was a Kai S900 because I saw Pete had one, Pete Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is not the right
Pete
one.
does all.
This is not the right one.
Uh-huh.
So so the guy that I bought it from, I was like, yo, I didn't, this is the wrong one. I needed a different one. And he gave me my money back. I took it back to him, which is crazy. And this was back when they had like the little papers, like where they had, you could buy a used car, you could buy, but you would get them at the convenience store. And they had music equipment in there too. So somebody was selling an S950 for like $150.
Wow.
And I was like, sold.
Yeah.
Came home, didn't even know by then I knew how to use it because my man Brian had one. And he had started making beats. So I knew how to use it. I just needed one of my own. And so that was the first of 3 that I ended up buying, 92.
So you made your own little studio in your house.
Yeah, well, my parents' house. Don't get it fucked up.
That's still your house.
Yeah, I live there semi-rent free.
There you go. It's been more than 20 years since you and your cousin Big Dippa came together to form Showtime and released your debut album feature presentation. How did you approach production on this 15-track project? Was that your first project and you just went all out?
Like first full-length album? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Pete Rock was the blueprint. You know what I'm saying? Period. I mean, there's no other way for me to say it. Like, Pete was my idol. You know what I mean? I mean, if you listen to that record, I mean, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, this dude. Even down to like all the little ad libs in the back and shit, like all of it. Yeah, man. I mean, I just really wanted to, because we were from where we were from, and then coming out at the time that we were coming out, making the kind of hip hop we were making, we were sort of the exception and not the rule. Of course, by that time, there had been a couple of people that had made real hip hop that was in Atlanta. Had like School of Hard Knocks. See, there's a couple of other guys. You know what I mean? Oh God, Too Crazy. Y'all So Stupid, right? So there were people that were doing it, but the prevailing stuff was still very bass heavy, 808 heavy. The rappers were rapping more. Some of them really still, like Raheem used to kind of rap like Cool J, but by that time, a lot of guys were trying to rap like Scarface from Ghetto Boy.
Right.
And like, or, it was just like booty shake type stuff, right? So we knew that going in that we weren't going to be like everybody's favorite. But again, our crowd was the people who listened to Rhythm and Vibes and listened to The Bomb on 88.5. So those were the ears we wanted anyway. I'll never forget, I sat down and played the album from Spearhead X. That's like my OG.
Nice.
And he listened to the album. He was like, "Look, man, the album is dope, but you got to know that a lot of people ain't really gonna fuck with it like they ought to. This kind of hip hop ain't never been popular in the South. This is 98, 97 going. No, this is 98.
Okay.
I first started putting the beats together in 97. So we didn't start recording until maybe the spring of 98. The album came out in December of 98.
Okay. I read that you believe you had created a magnum opus of some country as underground hip hop. Do you care to elaborate on that statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it was Randall and JC always say what we were doing was we predated Little Brother. Beat wise, it was definitely East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Lyrically and attitude wise, pure South, straight Decatur.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And I have to say all of this, especially mentioning Decatur, because like Showtime was the plan was for it to be part of this bigger umbrella called the Eastern Bloc, which included shout out to my man Immaculate Styles. Then there was this other group called Second Kings, which from that group came this rapper named Jaws of Life. So 98 Showtime album came out. 99, all of us had kind of started, we did a posse cut on our album. So from there, we're like, all right, now we need to start working on like a big compilation album. So I was going to be like the Rizzo, the Marley Marl, the mastermind behind it all. I produced all the records.
Like a crew.
Now we got different combinations of people rhyming on stuff. Mm-hmm. I think we may have grabbed up a couple of singers. And the thing that made all of that so unique was because we were all from Decatur, and pretty much all of us either played Little League together or went to high school together.
Nice.
In some way, shape, form, or fashion. So the dots were always connected. The degrees of separation were very, very small. Unfortunately, like my cousin, like he ended up, he was with his girlfriend, wife now, and they had just had their daughter, and shit got real, and he was like, man, rapping ain't gonna necessarily. I don't see it really doing what I needed to do. You know what I mean? So he went and handled his business as a man. We can't fault him for that. But in doing so, we were maybe about halfway done with the album, the compilation album. That happened. They were like, well, if he ain't in it, then we don't want to do it. So then Jaws of Life went solo. Mm-hmm. So this is now 2000 going into 2001. Mm-hmm. And I'll double back about the Showtime thing in a minute. And so he decided, he was like, well, I want to keep going. He was like, yo, send me some beats. And by this time, he had got really cool with Dungeon Family. So now, by this point, now he's Dungeon Family second generation. So I was like, okay, cool. We went to New York, recorded, I think I did 3 songs and co-produced another one for that album that came out in 2001. Mm-hmm. And then my cousin was like, yo, because we had started putting the music together for our second album. Mm-hmm. And he was like, look, he's like, we had already started, I already wrote these songs. I'll go in the studio with you and do what we already did. Like, as a favor to me, he did that. And so we recorded, I think, 6 new songs, and then I just kind of remixed some of the stuff off the first album because I figured nobody heard it. And so that became, we called it Eastbound and Down. There's No Time Like Showtime. And then I put that out last Christmas just to say, all right, we did it, and here's the second album. People always ask me, like, yo, did y'all make a second album? Or, does it exist? I'm like, yeah, it exists. And so I just said, all right, let me just put it out so people could hear it.
I like it. Speaking of the early 2000s, you returned to your DJ roots and joined Atlanta underground hip hop crew Mass Influence. Did you continue to work on production during this time as well?
Absolutely. First of all, when I got the call, I couldn't believe it. No, they told me to come by the law because with Mass Influence, they had this like revolving door of DJs. First was DJ Exact, then it was Jason, then it was Spearhead X, and then X had gotten so busy doing, his production stuff that he couldn't keep up.
Right.
So I remember H and Tone called me over to the law, and they were doing an interview for Elemental Magazine, actually. I was like,
oh my God, I used to love Elemental.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are they, y'all got an interview, like, why am I over here? And that's when he told the interviewer that I was a new DJ in Mass Influence. So I was like, oh, okay. But at the time, they was the catch me out, man. Like they live show was dope. And I was like, the Showtime, our live show was really dope. We wasn't using no DATs and instant replays and none of that. Like it was straight records.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I guess maybe they saw how I kind of ran the ship, and they wanted to keep that kind of thing going. So I was so very honored to be part of it for the brief time that I was there, and I produced because they were getting ready to work on their second album, which is going to be called Intellect Street Music, and I actually produced the first song on the album. They gave me the first song, a song called The Genesis. And I think I did like maybe another one that we never finished.
I saw you did that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, the group broke up. And then, so Odyssey, Tone, was like, yo, man, like, I like what you do, man. Like, we can keep working. So I was like, okay. And so that's when Eastside Nappy, VA Slim thing came out. We were going to do an album with 7 Heads. So the first single that we dropped was called Augusto. It's probably the only time you'll ever hear me rapping in life.
Oh, I have to look that up.
No, you really don't have to look it up. Please.
When was that?
2003?
Okay.
4? Somewhere in there. Then we did another record that was, and that song was also on their compilation No Edge Ups in South Africa. Shout out to J Live and a lot of the cats that was on there. Then we did a Japan only 12-inch called A Hop that I produced as well. And then, we worked on the album, and for whatever twist of fate, Tone and Wes fell out. The album never happened. And, that was it.
So skipping ahead a few years, you dropped Favorites in 2011, which includes tracks like What a Mess featuring Jessica Johnson and Twice featuring Carmen Rogers. How did you go about choosing the samples you selected for that record?
Well, I will slight correction. There were no samples in that album. I played all the instruments.
So that was all live instrumentals?
Absolutely. Yeah, no sampling at all. I played everything. So, and really, that album came about from me wanting to improve my musicianship. You know what I mean? So I would and it really was literally me trying to learn how to play some of my favorite songs. So yeah, Jefferson Airplane Today, Twice, What a Mess. What a Mess is me replaying Little Brother by Black Star.
Yeah.
That's me on drum. That's me on drum, playing the keys, all of it. And just it was me trying to teach myself how to play these songs because I don't have formal training. I play by ear, so it takes a long time for me to commit a melody or playing stuff to memory.
Right.
So you do it enough times, you finally get it down. So yeah, that's definitely probably one of my most proud moments as a producer / musician, and to be able to have the kind of talent that I had on that record is, you know, I was very, very honored and blessed and fortunate.
Yeah, that's impressive. Your Sounds of Mecca remix of Desiree Dawn's Chameleon appeared in Ava DuVernay's short film The Door in 2013. Did that open more doors for you in your career?
Not as much as I had hoped. And really, to be real, I was like, I just wanted some Prada sneakers out of the deal. Because the film was for New York Fashion Week. And but what I didn't know, I mean, I didn't know that Miu Miu was like a subsidiary of Prada. I thought it was like for Prada. Right. But I mean, again, to have something that I worked on, and shout to Morgan Rose, who was the music supervisor. I think she kind of does most of the music supervision for Ava's movies now. She definitely did Selma, and you know, a lot of other things. So I mean, if it wasn't for her, yeah, the record wouldn't have ever made it on there. But she was like, yo, because she's also in the house music, so she felt like that song would have really fit the scene. And you know, again, I was so honored that she, I'm sure she could have had any record she wanted, but she picked that record, and for it to be a part of such a, you know, momentous film with such amazing actors or actresses, let me say. Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was a beautiful thing. I definitely would love to do more stuff like that, you know, being in movies or like the little Netflix series and stuff like that. I just, you know, need to kind of, you know, when I'm sitting here creating sometimes, maybe I need to just stash some stuff, even if I know it might not be for a single or MC, just keep it stashed away just to possibly that it may possibly be, you know, could be a part of a television series and something. Yeah,
like scoring a film, something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, them good quiet checks. It's the best kind.
Yeah, nothing. I think those are amazing. Along the same lines, how did it feel to be selected to take part in the Ministers of Sound Photography exhibition from Kemi Bennings?
Again, like, you know, it's always good when you're recognized by your peer group, right. You know, for, you know, to be recognized or acknowledged for doing something at, you know, a particularly noteworthy level, right? So that definitely was honored. You know, that photo series was amazing.
Yeah.
And how she conceptualized everything, and for, you know, the one she picked for me was, I felt really, really dope. The shoot was at my house, so all my records were there. And they picked a really, really good picture out of all the ones they took. And for the whole exhibit was really, really dope too. The opening was dope. I got a chance to play a 45 set. Warrior Mama, she here, so she remembers the glowing 45 box. It's a long story, but yeah, the glowing 45 box was like this mystical, magical thing that somebody took a picture, and the 45 box really looked like it was glowing. And so, you know, that took a life of its own. But to be part of that exhibit was an honor. I appreciate Kemi for having me be a part of the work.
Nice. Would you be willing to share a memorable experience from the playlist retreat you attended in 2016? I'm not even a musician, but I would love to be part of one of those.
Listen, that is a week of memorable moments. Probably the one that sticks out most to me was meeting Tall Black Guy for the first time.
Nice.
Only because, like, I don't even remember how I got hip to him. I feel like he either I saw somebody tweet about it and I said, check it out. Or I feel like he might have reached out to me and said, got this album, you should check it out. I can't really remember how that part happened. But I definitely remember that when I did hear the first album, he did like his first album was Michael Jackson chops, or the Jackson 5 chops, or whatever. And I was like, yo, this shit is amazing. And from then on, I tweeted every time, y'all got to check out this dude, Tall Black Guy. Listen, Tall Black Guy, get this album, listen to it, Beatmakers, listen to it, this shit is crazy. And so we stayed cool for a very, very long time, and we had never met. And so I knew he had gone to the retreat the year before, and I knew that he was going to be there. And so when I got to Jeff's house, and there are all these trailers in Jeff's backyard, like as far as damn near the eye can see. And so they showed me where my trailer was. He's like, yo, go ahead and put your stuff in the trailer and come back to the tent. Or come back to the pool or whatever. So I get to the trailer, open up the trailer, and guess who's standing in it?
Amazing.
Tall Black Guy. And we act like we hadn't seen each other like since high school or something.
Wow.
They had a big hug, man. Rapped, talked about like, man, it's so good to meet you. And it was so dope because we had grown this rapport. He's like, yo, man, I thank you for like putting me out, helping me get out there more. And I was like, yo, man, when shit is dope, you gotta, let people know. And then the crazy part, so my trailer mates for Playlist Retreat that year, it was me, Tall Black Guy, and Sir.
Oh my God. Amazing. I don't think I even knew Sir went to that.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan.
So, all right, so check this shit out. So, Tiffany Boucher, the singer? That's his cousin.
Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Was she there too?
So, she wasn't there that year. She came the next year. But yeah, I mean, like, playlist, piece of my plate, man. I missed not going this year, man. Like, it's a family like no other, man.
I can't even imagine. I follow like everything that they share. I have to know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I mean, anywhere you go, like, you family now. Like, when they come here, like, me and JC got them. Or if we come to the city that they in, or if they performing somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Or they performing here, like, it's like that. It's very, like, we support each other, try to make sure people support each other's project, posting it, reposting it, whatever, buying it, all that shit. So, I mean, it's a great thing to be a part of. And again, I'm so honored that Jeff chose me to be part of it. And, as a humble brag, me and JC are the only DJs from Atlanta to ever be invited to Playlist Retreat. And this would have been year 6. So the honor gets bigger and bigger as the years go higher and higher. So I'm so blessed.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've worked with industry greats like Nicolay, Spinna, J-Rock, and Rich Medina. Are there others you hope to work with in the not too distant future?
No, we don't have enough time for that list. We don't.
Just off the dome, what you got?
I love to work with March. I love to do a record with Lil Fonte or Lil Brother. I'd love to do a record with Sir. Well, I kind of did a remix for the Canvas, so I guess technically that happened. But there's a guy, Buddy, out of LA. Layla Hathaway, Alex Isley, Moonchild, Nikki Miller out of Chicago. Playlist fan, word. Children of Zeus, absolutely. Monique Bingham. There's a singer in DC, B. Jamel. I love to work with her. Deborah Bond, Tony Momrell from Real People. Book Brown,
Oh yeah.
Star, man, Rock, so many, man. Yeah, that list could go on forever. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going, my mama said, if you're going to be a monkey, be a gorilla. Dream big.
I like that.
But so many, man. Cassandra Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
You
don't have to name all of them.
Yeah, there's so many.
Nice. Kind of switching gears a little bit. What does the typical sounds and stuff like that live stream consist of?
Funny you should ask. Tune in tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DJ Applejac. That's 5 Eastern Time, 2 Pacific. And you can kind of get a feel for, because, sound and stuff like that is basically what you would hear at a generation party, which is like the official sort of brand that I do of the party. But yeah, I mean, we what I like to call, we move in various pockets throughout, the 2 hours. So you can hear anything: jazz records, funk, soul, disco, house, Afrobeat, salsa, Brazilian records, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But, I try to make sure that the journey still, it makes sense after you listen to it. It's like, okay, I've been all these places, but it wasn't like,
all over the place.
Yeah. So, yeah, we just move in pockets, man. Shout out to my Manzana mob. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Word up. But yeah, again, if you want to know what that's like, tune in tomorrow, twitch.tv/DJ Applejac, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 4 o'clock Central. I don't know about Mountain. I guess that's 3. Yeah, 2 Pacific. Just move, wherever you are around the world. See, GMT, that's 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
so, however, just come through and hang out.
I will. That's right after work. How do you think the current pandemic and future recurrences will affect your touring schedule and weekly gigs?
Oh, I mean, shit, we fucked. I had to. I mean, I know I had to cancel easily 4 gigs this summer, and clubs ain't really. I mean, clubs that's open, I wouldn't play in there if you paid me $1 million, because they be packed to the gills. Nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's social distancing. So you couldn't even get me in none of the places. But and then, of course, a lot of the places that we do play are smaller. But, they not really, they have to, they're doing more like selling food and stuff to kind of stay afloat, because they can't really, have events necessarily.
Right.
So, and because of the fact that nobody's really paying attention and operating in wisdom, I think as long as people keep being out here acting ridiculous, the longer we're going to be in the house not being able to enjoy being out, whether it's going to a club, being at outdoor music festivals, all that shit is, it's a kibosh on all of it till we can get it together and try to at least get this COVID or whatever it is to a more manageable place, and we can kind of get out and enjoy being around each other too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and not just be so isolated in our own little bubble.
I agree. It's not really that much different in New York. Like, our numbers are low or whatever they say, but people still aren't really paying attention. What have you been listening to over the last few months? Do you have a pandemic playlist?
Nah. Manfredo Fest, some Brazilian music. Heck, man, like I've been listening to like shit like Barry White, Love Unlimited Orchestra.
Nice.
I don't really have a pandemic playlist. Like it just, I mean, I'll go in one of these rooms in the house and just grab some shit off the shelf and just play some stuff just to be at home cooling out. You know what I mean? Like I don't, some of the newer stuff. I like the new Chamber album, Black Earth, him and Howard B. Knox.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot. Me and Chamber actually are working on an EP as well. Yeah.
That's my next question. Are you currently working on any projects you'd like to promote?
Oh yeah. Well, I got a single out with my man Cassius King out of LA called Proper Gander. It's available on all platforms. We touch on some very relevant topics based on what's going on in the world today.
Nice.
We actually probably are a lot further along on our EP than me and Chamber. We still got a few more things to record. But hopefully, we looking at with me and Cassius. What's this? August? Perhaps in sometime before the end of the year. I got some remixes from my man Oxygen from the Age Appropriate album. I remixed a few things for him that honestly, and Ox don't kill me, I still gotta turn in for mastering. But there's those things. So there's Cassius King, Oxygen, Chamber. I feel like there's some remixes and like Lil Lucy's that'll kind of pop up as well. Yeah, that's really kind of it for now. But that's enough. And well, to promote that, me and vocalist Malik O'Neill, we did an album called Not Really Wakanda. More on the future soul tip, kind of funky, spaced out stuff. Really good record. That's also on all platforms. Shout out to Soul Spasm, my man Jim. Shout out to J57, 57 Collective. Word up. Shout out to Air Max. But so yeah, all those things are available. Well, me and Malik O'Neill's album, and then me and Cassius King's record.
Nice.
Available on all platforms at the moment.
Applejac, I've got a couple more questions, but we've got about 15 seconds remaining. Do you mind if I stop this and then restart a new one and jump back on?
Absolutely. I'll be right back.
I'll see you in a second. Thanks.
All right, peace.